The mists part to reveal the gleaming marble halls of Mount Olympus, home to the most powerful beings in Greek mythology. But behind these pristine columns and golden thrones lies a world of bitter rivalries, vengeful plots, and divine jealousy that shaped the ancient world. Welcome back to Chronicles Explained, where today we're pulling back the curtain on Mount Olympus Unveiled, the dark rivalries of Greek gods and goddesses. These aren't just the sanitized stories you might remember. These are tales of power, betrayal, and the flaws that made these immortals all too human. Before we dive into the specific rivalries that tore Olympus apart, let's understand what made these gods so prone to conflict. The Greek pantheon was structured like a dysfunctional family business, with Zeus as the temperamental CEO who seized power through violence against his own father, Cronus. This set a precedent. Power in the divine realm was something to be taken, not given. And when you have immortal beings with cosmic powers and eternal grudges, the consequences can reshape the world itself. Let's begin with perhaps the most infamous rivalry, the three-way power struggle between Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. After overthrowing their Titan father, these brothers divided the cosmos between them. Zeus claimed the skies and leadership of the gods, Poseidon took the seas, and Hades was relegated to the underworld. But this division was never truly accepted. Poseidon, in particular, constantly challenged Zeus's authority. In one notorious episode, Poseidon conspired with Hera and Athena to overthrow Zeus, going so far as to bind the king of gods in unbreakable chains. Only through the intervention of the hundred-handed giant Briareus was Zeus freed, narrowly avoiding a complete cosmic coup. Hades, though less openly rebellious, maintained a cold distance from Olympian affairs, building his own kingdom where even Zeus's authority ended at its borders. Their rivalry manifested in subtle ways. Zeus would rarely visit the underworld, and Hades seldom attended the gatherings on Olympus. The few times these brothers directly clashed were over mortal favorites or divine transgressions, with each encounter threatening to tear apart the fabric of their carefully balanced cosmos. But no discussion of divine rivalries would be complete without exploring the volatile relationship between Zeus and his wife, Hera. This was less a marriage and more an eternal power struggle, fueled by Zeus's countless infidelities and Hera's vengeful responses. When Zeus fell for Semele, a mortal princess, Hera disguised herself as an old nurse and convinced the young woman to ask Zeus to reveal himself in his true divine form, knowing full well this would incinerate the mortal. When Semele was reduced to ashes, Zeus rescued their unborn child Dionysus and sewed him into his thigh until the god's birth. Hera's vengeance didn't end there. She tormented Dionysus with madness, forcing him to wander the earth in a frenzied state. She transformed one of Zeus's lovers, Io, into a cow and sent gadflies to torment her endlessly. Another lover, Callisto, was transformed into a bear, forever separated from her human son. What makes this rivalry particularly dark is that, unlike mortal marriages, they could never truly separate. Immortality meant their cycle of betrayal and revenge would continue for eternity, with mortals often becoming collateral damage in their cosmic marital disputes. Perhaps the most complex rivalry on Olympus was between Athena and Poseidon. Their competition for Athens is legendary. Poseidon struck the Acropolis with his trident, creating a salt spring, while Athena gifted the olive tree, providing food, oil, and wood. The citizens chose Athena's gift, earning Poseidon's eternal enmity toward the city. But their rivalry went deeper. Both represented different aspects of human civilization. Athena embodied wisdom, strategic warfare, and intellectual pursuits, while Poseidon represented raw power, emotional impulse, and natural forces. Their conflict symbolized the eternal struggle between reason and passion in the human experience. Their animosity reached its peak during the Trojan War, where they supported opposite sides. When Poseidon violated Athena's temple by enabling the rape of Cassandra, Athena joined Hera in punishing the Greeks, former allies, during their return journey. This divine vendetta resulted in countless shipwrecks and the deaths of many Greek heroes. Another bitter rivalry that shaped the ancient world was between Hera and Heracles, or, as the Romans called him, Hercules. As Zeus's illegitimate son, Heracles was a living reminder of her husband's infidelity. Hera's hatred was so profound that she attempted to kill Heracles when he was just an infant by sending snakes to his crib. When that failed, she continued her persecution throughout his life. Her most devastating attack came when she drove Heracles temporarily insane, causing him to murder his own wife and children in a fit of divine-induced madness. His famous 12 labors were actually a form of atonement for this horrific act, meaning the greatest achievements of Greece's most beloved hero were born from a goddess's vengeful rivalry. The relationship between Apollo and Artemis, divine twins, presents a more nuanced rivalry. Though they often supported each other, their domains were in constant tension. Apollo represented the sun, civilization, and artistic order, while Artemis embodied the moon, wilderness, and untamed nature. This tension turned deadly when it involved mortals. When Niobe boasted that her 14 children made her superior to their mother Leto, who had only 2, the twins responded with merciless precision. Apollo slaughtered all 7 of Niobe's sons with his arrows, while Artemis killed her 7 daughters. Niobe's grief was so overwhelming that she transformed into a weeping stone, forever mourning her children. Their rivalry with other gods could be equally devastating. When the giant Tityos attempted to rape their mother, the twins killed him instantly. In the underworld, he was sentenced to have vultures eternally feed on his ever-regenerating liver, a punishment that reflects the twins' shared capacity for creative cruelty. Demeter and Hades developed a bitter rivalry centered around Persephone, Demeter's daughter. When Hades abducted Persephone to be his unwilling bride, Demeter's grief caused all vegetation on Earth to wither and die, creating the first winter. Even after Zeus brokered a compromise, allowing Persephone to spend part of the year with her mother, Demeter never forgave Hades. Their conflict created the seasonal cycle itself, with the world blooming when Persephone returned to her mother and dying when she descended back to her husband. This rivalry between the goddess of harvest and the god of death literally shaped the rhythm of life on Earth. Aphrodite and Persephone developed their own rivalry over the beautiful mortal Adonis. Both goddesses desired him, forcing Zeus to intervene. His solution was similar to Persephone's own fate. Adonis would spend 4 months with Aphrodite, 4 with Persephone, and 4 of his own choosing. Adonis chose to spend his personal time with Aphrodite, enraging Persephone. Many scholars believe Ares, Aphrodite's jealous lover, was manipulated by Persephone to send a wild boar that eventually killed Adonis. From his blood sprouted anemone flowers, another beautiful life cut short by divine rivalry. Even the craftsman god Hephaestus wasn't immune to Olympian rivalries. Born with a physical deformity, he was rejected by his mother Hera, who cast him from Olympus. This created a lifelong resentment that manifested in clever revenge when he crafted a golden throne that trapped Hera when she sat on it. His rivalry with Ares took a more personal turn when he discovered his wife Aphrodite's affair with the war god. Rather than confront them directly, Hephaestus forged an unbreakable golden net and caught the lovers in the act, then invited all the gods to witness their humiliation. This public shaming satisfied his need for revenge, but poisoned his already tenuous relationships on Olympus. These divine conflicts weren't confined to Olympus, they spilled over to Earth with devastating consequences. The Trojan War itself was triggered by a rivalry between Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite when Paris was asked to judge which goddess was most beautiful. His choice of Aphrodite earned him Helen of Troy, but also the eternal enmity of the other goddesses who supported the Greeks in destroying his homeland. What's most fascinating about these rivalries is how they reflect very human emotions: jealousy, insecurity, vengeance, and pride, but amplified to cosmic proportions. These weren't perfect beings passing judgment from on high. They were deeply flawed individuals wielding terrifying power. The ancient Greeks understood something profound about power, that it doesn't necessarily ennoble the character. Their gods weren't idealized paragons of virtue, but rather cautionary tales about how immortality and unrestrained power could magnify the worst aspects of sentient nature. The rivalries of Mount Olympus serve as mirrors to our own conflicts, stripped of pretense and moderation. They remind us that the same jealousies, ambitions, and desires that drove divine conflicts are present in our own lives. Though thankfully, most of us lack the ability to transform rivals into spiders or unleash plagues on our enemies. Perhaps that's why these stories have endured for thousands of years. They're not just entertaining tales of supernatural beings. They're psychological studies of power, family dynamics, and the costs of immortality. The Greek gods may have been divine, but their rivalries were distressingly human. The next time you look up at the sky during a thunderstorm, imagine Zeus and Poseidon in another of their eternal arguments. When the seasons change, picture Demeter's ongoing grief and rivalry with Hades. These ancient rivalries continue to play out in our collective imagination, reminding us that even gods were prisoners to their own flaws. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the dark rivalries of Mount Olympus. If you enjoyed this exploration of divine conflicts, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Chronicles Explained for more deep dives into the fascinating stories that shaped our cultural heritage.